Welcome to Drive for Service, a podcast to inspire higher quality of service. Welcome everybody to Drive for Service. My name is Melania Battison and I'm the head sommelier and wine buyer at Medlar restaurant in Chelsea in London. And next to me, David O'Connor, the co-owner and restaurant manager at Medlar Chelsea.
Hello everyone.
Today, quite emotional day. We're here to wrap up season 1 of Drive for Service. And this is why it's just going to be myself and David today. So mainly, we're going to be focusing on you, David. Are you ready?
Go on then.
Okay, perfect. So we're kind of going to keep partially of the structure that we use for our previous guests.
Yeah.
So the first and most important question is, what service means to you?
Well, what service means to me? Well, it means everything to me, as you know.
Oh, indeed.
The thing about Medlar is we try to focus an alignment of three things: the high quality of service, world-class wine program, and high quality food. And we try to get all those things together. But in terms of service, we do focus a lot on the customer service, for sure. In my experience of running restaurants and running a business and dining out, I think that, 90% of the problems are caused by front of house. It can be, not inspiring confidence, incompetence, not caring enough, not understanding how people feel, not reading the guests. And this contributes enormously to people's experience. So I think it's very, very, very important that you get it right. And I don't think enough places focus enough on customer service. It doesn't have to be restaurants. It can be anything, my local coffee shop, for example, or, there's a very, very good bakery at the bottom of our road. But the service is challenging, when you go there. It's disorganized, they're not efficient, they're not friendly, but the product is very, very, very good. Whereas another coffee shop down the road, they do focus on customer service. They know exactly how I like my coffee. They know exactly how to make hot chocolate for my daughter. They're friendly. The other day I was in the back of the queue, for example, and they know what I like to drink. And the guy who was making the coffee, he must have been making a flat white for whoever's at the front of the queue. And he just made a second one at the same time and gave it to me, even though I was at the back of the queue, because he knows me. Then I didn't have to wait.
That.
Now that's sort of a magic touch,
Yeah.
right? So where do you think I'm going to go back to for coffee?
To the second one, I guess.
Exactly, And I think it's the same for restaurants or any business or any customer service business. I mean, it's very rarely you get good service in a shop or
Yeah, and this brings me to say that Medlar, 90% of our clientele is regulars. And this is why probably, except for good food, they also experience very good service. And I always feel like our customers are kind of family and friends almost. And they feel like home. They feel like the restaurant is partially theirs as well, not just ours.
For sure,
just yours.
Yeah, I think businesses do need to care about customer service a bit more. I mean, when I take my daughter horse riding, for example, the customer service there is exceptional, and the whole place is run by teenagers, and it's quite impressive actually. But it just shows that whoever owns that business or runs that business really cares about customer service, and has made the effort to train the team on that, and it makes the experience really, really good.
Yeah, or either, exactly. I remember, I think it was Diego who said that the best customer service he had, it was in a hospital. And it's another point of view of seeing how customer service is very important. It can be horse riding or it can be hospital, but need to be passionate and be trained as well, as you mentioned. No?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there something that you like to add on the importance of service before we're moving on to the next point?
at this moment, no.
Okay. So I'm going to a crucial point, which are the 3 non-negotiables. On the first podcast, we knew that David had many non-negotiables. However, that was too generic for us. We need some answers. So may I ask you what the 3 main ones are?
I mean, I've got lots of non-negotiables, as you know, but I'm going to, I don't know. I mean, you've worked with me for 5 years, right?
Indeed.
So, I mean, why don't you, I'll tell you what, we write down together.
Yeah, let's do it.
What the top 3 are.
I like it.
What you think the top 3 is. What I think the top 3 is.
I like the challenge.
Okay.
Do you have a piece of paper?
Yeah.
Well, you know yours, so I think it's just about me. Okay, 5 years of David. What did I learn? Well, one is very easy. Okay.
Go on.
So for everyone to see, the first one is Lombardy time. The second one would be honesty. And the third one, I believe, is standards. Maybe the order is messed up, but these are the 3. Did I get any of this right?
Okay, so try and say what I wrote.
Yeah.
Timekeeping.
Lombardy time.
Yeah.
There we are. Perfect. Do you want to explain us Lombardy time?
Well, Lombardy time is he's a legendary American football coach, and when he was leading his teams, you had to be 15 minutes early, otherwise you're late.
So we speak again about football, but it's a good reference. And we had examples in the past where usually what David does is to give a notice to a person and say, okay, you're late. The first time it's okay. The second one, the person comes into the door, he looks at the person. I think the person already understands that he has to go home. And David can either said, okay, just grab your jacket and leave.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely non-negotiable for me. You have to be on time.
Yeah.
It's not just arriving on time for work, or you have to be on time for briefing. You have to be on time for service. You have to get your mise en place ready on time. All of these things, you cannot be late, and you have to be early, 15 minutes early. If you're arriving for your shift 15 minutes early, you arrive with intention. You get changed. You have your coffee. You say hello to the team, and then you're ready for your shift with intention at the time you're supposed to start. This is really important. The briefing is the same time every day, 11:45, 6:15. I do not have to call you for the briefing. You are ready on time. The whole team has to be ready with intention, with the attitude to be ready to deliver service. If somebody's late, if somebody can't be bothered to make the effort to come to work on time, then I already know that they're not going to make the effort to look after our customers on time with this attitude. So I don't need those people. Even if you work with me for a while and you have that attitude on that particular day, which can happen, we're all humans, we all have complicated lives, but I don't need you for that shift. Go back home. I'll do the job, thank you very much, without you, and come back tomorrow with a different attitude.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because has it ever happened that you send some members of the team home, like collectively, let's say, not just once, because not just one.
What if everybody's late?
Not just one guy. No, maybe it can be because they're late or because they don't have this motivation and intention, as you mentioned, which is very important for service, right?
I mean, one thing I learned from Jack Carlino, one of my old managers, is that you need your senior team to rely on your senior team. Okay, so and can your senior team, well, they're the ones that make it happen, let's say, can your senior team cope if nobody showed up one day? And that is the way I always try to manage those teams, because, if everybody was late and I had to send everybody home, I would at least have myself and my senior team who could still do the service. There is one, if I think back many years ago when I was at Shea Bruce, perhaps I didn't have the skills to, persuade a team as I do now, but there was one particular service. It wasn't about being late. It was a general attitude that they thought I was asking them too much.
Okay.
And, there was a bit of mutiny, let's say, a bit of resistance. And so I came to the briefing. We had a full restaurant. The manager at the time, my assistant manager at the time, was Matthew Hoff. And the sommelier was Mathieu Guermond, who's now got his own restaurant, Noise.
Yep.
I'm sure you know them both very well. They're still...
Oh, yeah.
And so the briefing, I listened to what everyone had to say in the briefing, and I said, okay, fine. You don't think it's possible? You can all go home. So, full house, Shabrers. And I said, I'll pay your shift. Go and have a night off. I don't mind. I'm going to do it with Matt and the two Matts, Matt Hoff and Matt Noise. And we did the whole service. And I'm not saying it was easy, but the three of us did the whole service by ourselves. And do you think anybody was moaning the next day? Or I think the attitude changed from the whole team the day after that. But it's not really about lateness, but it's about I'm not afraid to, do it on my own, if that makes sense. Yeah.
It's also like leading by showing that it's possible anyway.
Well, sometimes you have to show, yes, for sure.
Exactly.
As a leader. What did you write? Honesty?
Honesty, my second point. Am I wrong?
Yes, I wrote integrity. Very good.
Okay. No, I know that you value this a lot.
I mean, honesty, integrity, honesty is certainly a non-negotiable for me. Don't bullshit me. Come on. I know what's going on. Half the time I know what you're thinking before you do. So, don't even try, because I need to know certain things, and I need to know you're honest. And if you're honest, I know that I can trust you, and you can trust your colleagues. Your colleagues will do their job. You'll do your job. You're not going to try and, and everybody knows what's going on, and everyone's clear. And it leads, like the timekeeping, integrity, it leads to so many other positive traits on the team, which leads to a whole fully motivated team, in my opinion.
But it's true, about the body language, and no one can really bullshit you. For example, body language is something that you gain, how to read body language, that you gain over years of experience and by working with people, or have you read books, for example?
Well, body language is a very important skill to have for the job that I do, because I need to understand how customers are feeling, even though they might not tell me exactly. I need to understand. I need to anticipate what they want before they ask for it, and a lot of clues in body language tells you that. Is it a skill I've developed over the years? Most definitely, because obviously I've worked in restaurants for a very long time. And I'm very observant about people. Also, I think in my younger days, I was very, very shy person. So that made me a more observant person from reading people, listening to people. And also, yes, there are some books and courses you can do about it. But ultimately, it's a skill I've developed, and it does work to my advantage for sure.
Yeah. And the last but not least is standards. I've been quite vague here, but I believe...
So I wrote fighting for the basics.
Right, which is on the same current anyway.
Everyone who works on the team has to fight.
Proud.
Everyone on the team has to fight very hard for the basics, what I call, the things you have to do no matter what. And it's really important that everybody, I can rely on everybody to do that.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk on the first episode as well, we talk about basics, brilliant basics and magic touches. And it's constantly, like at every briefing, we always repeat the same things. And when it comes to brilliant basics, is very good housekeeping, a perfect mise en place in the back, excellent knowledge of the food, but especially when it comes to the orders of service and being consistent every time and provide that order of service at all times.
Mm.
And one thing that you always say when it's a busy service, just focus on the basics.
Yeah, I mean, the basic level of service is the minimum anyone should expect if they came to Medlar. I mean, but the seriousness I take it is, it can shock people sometimes, because for me, I would rather lose an arm than let the service go down. You know?
I've seen you many times. Like, I thought at some point, like, we were like about to pick up a fight. Not me and you particularly, but I mean, you really fight for these, but this is what keep Medlar like where he is.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I think it's really important, because the way we work, it is, you know, it's called basic for a reason. It is very basic. So if you're not getting the basics right, very, very quickly, you're suddenly not a professional outfit. You know, it's a very fine line before you start looking a bit amateur, you know.
Or, you know, the problem is when you got the basics that they're so brilliant, and you go to another restaurant and you wait 35, no, not 35 maybe, but 50 minutes to get a piece of bread. You're like, God, if David was here, like, he would be so pissed off. And I start to get your mentality, because I just see you every day fighting for those basics, and you implemented this in my brain, and now I cannot enjoy my experience in a restaurant anymore. No, I'm joking. No, it's brilliant. And we want to speak about magic touches as well. And this comes beyond the basics when...
Well, I always say, you often heard me say in a briefing, I don't mind, let's say if somebody has a not a great experience, I don't mind if somebody says we're boring.
Yeah.
But I do mind if somebody says that we're not efficient.
Yeah.
So I value this very, very highly. You have to be efficient on the basic level of service before anything else. And then when you're doing that automatically and service is going well, you can add your personality and your touch, which would make it extra special. But I would be very upset if we had a complaint where somebody said the service is not efficient. Yeah. So that is something I value very, very highly, for sure. And it's definitely non-negotiable.
Yeah, that's for sure. And so when you, how do you build a team, implement that culture and that philosophy?
I mean, building a team, I mean, the way I build a team is, you know, as you know, I'm a football fanatic. So
everyone knows that by now.
I think it's, I do take a lot of influence from that, though. You know, it is a team sport like football. So just like in football, you need a team where you've got your strikers who can score the goals. You've got your midfielders who make sure everything's in control. You've got possession of the ball so they can give the ball to the strikers. And you've got defenders who make sure that the other team doesn't score. And you've got a goalkeeper to make sure as well. Mm-hmm. All right. So it's the same thing in the front of house team. You know, you have people like you, Melania, star striker, sommelier. Okay.
I feel like Messi here.
But this is how I build teams. You know, you have to have your midfielders, the people who can do all the nitty-gritty behind to make sure that you have everything you need to shine and score goals. Yeah. And on the back of that, you need also people who can organize different way, who are defenders. So it is very similar in a way, you know. So this is how I build team, is having the right people in the right places, and it comes together as a team. So, for example, I mean, I don't think your job would be great if you had to be doing the other things that the midfielders are doing and the other things defenders are doing, and the same in a restaurant, you know.
Yeah.
If you're doing one service and then suddenly you've got to go and help the barman make 5 cocktails, or you can't find the wine, you've got to go and get it yourself, and then somebody else is asking you for bread, and then, you know, you've got to go and help the waiter because you can't manage your station. All of these things is going to contribute to you not doing your job as well as you can. But if everybody's in the right position and everybody's doing their job, it comes together as a team, and then our strikers, I would say, can score a lot of goals and creates a lot of good memories and things for our customers. But it's one of the reasons, like, and I know you think it's cruel sometimes when I don't allow people to be helped, because I need that person to manage what his task is. So, for example, I just mentioned earlier, if you had to go and help the barman make 5 cocktails, I'm losing you on the floor in an important moment, which the customer suffers.
Of course.
So that person has to know, no, you're going to make 5 cocktails by yourself and you have to do it by yourself. The waiter in the station, if one waiter has got 3 tables and the other waiter's got 10 tables and he's a bit busy, I don't want the waiter who's got 3 tables to help the waiter that's got 8 tables, because that's his task, his job. He needs to do that on his own.
Yeah.
And the other guy, when he will get his full station, needs to do that on his own as well. Because if they suddenly start helping each other, it's leaving gaps in other areas, and it leads to a bit of disorganization, which I don't like.
So I guess this kind of, because we're going to get to some questions from our listener, but I think we can already answer to one now on the training journey for a new starter. Like, for example, as you mentioned, for a waiter. So does he do a particular time with someone else, like accompanied in a section, and then is left on his own?
Yeah. What is it? What's the question, sorry?
What is the training journey for a new starter?
So a new starter at Medlar, they would work with somebody, yes, probably a good waiter. They would teach them how to do, how we run the station, if you like. And once they're doing their station alone, it really is an intensive, what do you call it, training, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get a lot of heat from me, for sure. It's very, very intense. You need to understand that nothing matters except getting the basics right.
Yeah.
I don't want anything else from them. No personality, doesn't matter. I want you to be a Medlar basic service robot until it's automatic. And
Right.
only then, when they're doing it to our standard, then the other things come, their confidence, their personality, what, then it's the other trainings, the knowledge, what they'll need, other skills they might develop. It depends on that person as well, why they're here, what they want to achieve. If you tell me I'm just doing this for 2 years because X, Y, Z, and I'm going to do something else, that's fine. But your training program is going to be a bit different. If you tell me you'd like to be a manager one day, again, your training program will be a little bit more different way. If you want to get into the wine, that's another thing. So that is the journey, if you like.
Right. So based on the journey, because we do have some Medlar principles.
Yeah, but that leads us on to your next point about how do you motivate teams.
Yeah.
So I tried to explain the structure of what we do, but then in order to keep them motivated, I don't think I'm somebody that tries very hard to motivate in that sense. But what motivates them is what we're trying to do. Our standards, our principles, integrity. This all brings the team together. That gives them all a purpose, let's say, and brings them together. And when they're all doing it together, and you see the feedback we're getting, and everyone can rely on each other.
Yeah.
This brings the great team spirit that we have at the moment, because we have a team that's a long-term team.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So this is and one of the best motivating things is these days is help with personal development.
How do you do that?
Well, there's a lot of one-to-one conversations I have, as you know.
Yeah.
And then it's again, it's back to integrity. What is it you want?
Mm-hmm.
How can I help you achieve what you want out of what you're doing?
Kind of become a psychologist as well, not just a manager anymore. Or a therapist. It depends how you want to see.
It does feel a bit
true.
like
You
that.
do a lot of one-to-one, and they're very helpful, because what it showcases is that you care about your restaurant, you care about Medlar, but as well as you care about the people that they're working for you. And for Medlar.
I care a lot about the people working for me,
Yeah, I know that.
but only once you're doing the basics.
Yeah, it's true.
As soon as you start disrespecting the basics or the Medlar standard, my tune, I would say, changes very quickly.
Oh, yeah. We got DEFCON. Do you want to share maybe the principles with our listeners?
Well, Melania, you've worked 5 years. So what are
I feel like
what are our principles?
I feel like I'm an interview now. I mean, I already guessed 3 of the non-negotiables. Okay, no, I remember the principles. So the principle 1 is Medlar service is courteous. Did I say that right? So. The pronunciation is friendly and is welcoming. Principle 2 is that Medlar service instills trust. Principle 3, Medlar service is knowledgeable. Principle 4, Medlar service is based on effective communication. Principle 5, Medlar service is effective. No, sorry, is performed efficiently. Principle 6, Medlar service is well-timed. Lombardy timed. No, I'm joking. Principle 7, Medlar service is flexible. Principle 8, Medlar service is consistent. Principle 9, Medlar service exceeds expectations.
Yeah.
And the best one, principle 10, Medlar service is constantly improving. I didn't even look at my notes. No, it's been 5 years of being touched with them on your brain.
You should be an actress.
Someone said so. No, but we repeat those principles time after time.
And well, it's not just repeating them; we practice them. Yeah. You know, that's the main thing. This is what we try to do every day, on top of the brilliant basics that we talked about, the basic level of service. Yeah. And this is what drives and motivates the team also. Yeah. Because they are following our,
A question on those principles. When do you introduce the principle to a new starter? Like right away? Or no, like they kind of learn then?
No, you have to learn them as you're going along. But the only thing I'm interested in as a new starter is whether they can perform efficiently our Medlar basic service. That is the only thing I care about in the beginning. And, talk about building teams. I mean, there might be some questions about recruitment. I don't know. But, there is one way to position we're trying to fill at Medlar at the moment. And we have gone through 3 people who haven't lasted. They haven't got through the first, first journey. Yeah. But I'm okay with that, because I know that once we do find somebody that gets through that first initial, then we're going to have somebody who's going to be loyal and very good, and would be a great addition to the team. And I like that the team doesn't accept somebody that's not going to get there, But it's not easy. But we may go through 10 before we fill that position. Who knows? But I'm not going to compromise those standards for anybody. So that is, it can be tough.
Do you believe in the formula that you have to give them an intro pack of Medlar to a new starter with all the information that it needs, or is just by seeing and experience?
No, I'm not a big believer in those starter pack things. I mean, we do have them at Medlar, but it's just too much information, and they need to see, they need to do, they need to experience, they need, it's not like we don't have enough briefings. It's not like we don't have enough busy services. It's not like, we don't do enough one-to-ones. No, we do what we can to get them there. And those starter packs, they're not useful for me personally.
Yeah, makes sense. But it's it seems like it's quite of a tough job what you're trying to achieve. And I think you kind of need quite big energy to, deal with people every day, first of all, and all day long. And second of all, of course, trying to maintain what is your family and like try to make them happy and your work and Medlar. So something that we never ask our guests, but I like to ask you is how you maintain a good levels of energy to deal with all of these.
I don't know, really. I mean, to do this job well, you need a lot of mental resilience for sure. You need to be mentally and physically fit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm aware of that. And so I do try to manage that. And I manage my time as best I can. There's 24 hours in a day. I sleep 6 of them. There's 18 more hours in the day. And I try to fill them all properly, So obviously there's work to be done. Also, there's fitness and rest and eating well in between that. I like to go to the gym to get my fitness up, mental fitness, making sure that I rest properly, read properly, doing the things I like to do during the day. Generally, I'm quite an introverted person, so in order for me to rest, sometimes I need a bit of alone time during the day, which I always schedule in, no matter what. And I try to keep my routine. I try to focus on what is important and what I can control. And I don't like to waste my energy on things I can't control during the day.
Yeah.
I try to just get them to one side. Also, delegation is important. What tasks can be delegated amongst the team. Also, a little secret weapon as well, which is my wife, Monica, who looks after me very well. And she's, as you know, she comes to help at Medlar. And, her background is 5-star hotels and high-end Michelin restaurants. And she's going to come to Medlar. I mean, our customers probably don't know her, but, she certainly helps me manage the team for sure. And the details and all the problems that the staff have, she helps solve. And it's certainly a big help for sure. So, yeah, does that answer your question?
I think it does. Yeah. Shall we move on to some question for our listeners, from our listeners?
Okay.
So we answer about the training journey, Medlar for a new starter. Now I get an interesting one here, which is what customer behavior irritates you? Irritates you. That's it.
What customer
behavior does irritate you? There is any? I can guess one. Can I say?
Well,
David loves his cheese, and someone asks for chutney. He's not going to be happy. No, I'm joking. But anything else that particular?
Well, I mean, because I don't want this to be a negative thing about customers. This is a customer service podcast that we want to, promote, really. So, I mean, I like to think that my front of house teams has the skill and the desire to overcome any sort of challenging customers and their moods and their requests and all that sort of thing. And I kind of pride myself on that in a way. So that is one thing. But of course, there's things, that one is that, I don't understand why people need to smear a lovely cheese in some jam, but something that annoys me as well is when people say that Medlar punches above its weight.
What do you mean by that?
Well, exactly. What do they mean by that? I mean, let's get one thing straight. Medlar is heavyweight restaurant, and we're not punching above our weight. That's my opinion. So when people say that, it's I get really irritated.
No, I know that. And what is the perfect service at Medlar?
Perfect service at Medlar.
I think I know the answer
Okay.
to that.
What is principle 10, Melania?
That is constantly improving.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
It's never perfect. It's always improving.
Yeah, it's always improving. But I think when it's this mix also, from my point of view, is when we got all the brilliant basics done and we can add the magic touches.
Yeah.
That for me is when it's perfect and everyone is in sync.
Yeah.
I've done very good services at Medlar. Okay, that's for me. How do you build the wine list at Medlar? So the wine list at Medlar, David is very open-minded in a way that he trusts the sommeliers to choose what is the best fit for the wine list at Medlar. Of course, what I'm trying to do is always to understand what are the requests and the desires of our customers. Of course, make sure that we have the wines that they like. But also, I believe that we have the freedom at Medlar to implement and to put in our own personality. So by choosing things that we like. Also, again, based on what our customers' preferences are. So for example, when I buy a bottle of wine, I'm thinking, okay, I buy this wine, I know that I'm going to sell it to this person. Because I do know what they like, I do know what they're looking for, and you can play a lot in Medlar because people feel adventurous as they trust the sommelier that work in the restaurant, and I think that's the most beautiful thing. So yeah, I hope that answered the question. And speaking about wine, Medlar has always been like a sommelier hub, and you always had the greatest sommelier in London. Would you explain what it means to you, the sommelier role, and what you're looking for in a sommelier?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, Medlar is about the alignment of the food, the service, and the wine program. So the wine program is a very, very important part of the business. And, what am I looking for from a sommelier? What do I want from a sommelier? I want the sommelier to enjoy wine, love wine. I want them to build relationships with customers, build relationships with suppliers. And I want them to enjoy and participate and enhance the Medlar experience and service. So to help them do that, I need to think about how I set the team up. Goes back to my football analogy, if I see the sommelier as the star striker, what team can I put behind in order for them to perform very well? So there are certain elements of a sommelier job that can be delegated amongst the team. So do I want a sommelier busy in the bar, training the barman? Not really. Do I want the sommeliers polishing glasses all day? Is that best use of their skills? No. Do I want the sommelier looking for wines in the cellar, putting wines away? So all these things like managing the stock, managing the bar, getting all the glassware, organizing the events, all these things. It's all of these things on the side can be delegated, so that the sommelier can perform effectively on what they're doing. They're going to learn about wine. They're going to enjoy what they do. That's going to transmit to the customer. They're going to build a relationship with the customer. And that is why we've always had top sommeliers, because this is how we work. And it works for me. I don't know about other businesses, but it works for me. And I have seen how you've grown as well while you've been at Medlar, so it certainly works for you. Does that answer your question?
It does. And I think what you do and what you give is also a lot of personal space, because you understand, maybe because you've seen, maybe because you've known, like how much studies and hustle on the side a sommelier has, and you support that, and you give space and you give time for sommelier to study and therefore to shine as well.
Yeah, I don't think you can ever know everything about wine. So you need an enormous amount of time to study.
That's right.
And it's important that you have that time.
Yeah, you do. I agree. So I have another question.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned Danny Meyer in the past,
of
the people that you admire in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else that you like to mention?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Danny Meyer, I admire what he does because of, I like businesses that put service as a priority, So that's why I admire Danny Meyer a lot, because of the language he speaks, which, is very inspiring. Also, the businesses he's created, they're all based on high-level customer service. So they're not just talking about, they're practicing it, which is important. So things like Four Seasons I admire for that reason. Virgin, again, for the same reason. But people-wise, I have to say Nigel Platz-Martin, who was... I worked for him for 12 years. He was my former boss. In my opinion, the best restaurateur that this country has produced. Let's not forget that he was... he started Harvey's, which was, a very iconic restaurant where Marco Pierre-White made his name, but Nigel was the one that opened it. And I've learned so much from him, and I'd certainly, if Nigel opened a restaurant in any postcode in London, it would already be the best restaurant in that postcode, And I've certainly learned a lot from him, and I do follow the same business model as well. So yeah, Nigel for sure. Who else? Bruce Poole from Chez Bruce. I worked with him for a long time. He's a chef that really cares about we talked about alignment of Medlar, the food, the wine, and the service. He's somebody that, cares about all three and cares a lot.
Yeah.
And also allowed me to, I guess I grew up as a manager working for Bruce as well. And I remember one time, sometimes things just stick in your head when people say things to you. And I remember one time I was having a good moan about the team, and
he didn't send you home.
No, he just said to me, like, he probably doesn't even remember this conversation, but he just said to me, instead of moaning about them, why don't you just train them properly? And that just one little thing like that, just little light bulb went off in my head.
That's good.
And I've done that ever since.
That's good. That's
and
a good
that's
one. It's powerful.
Yeah, it's something very small, but just and quite a strange thing I learned from Bruce as well is about the importance of words. I think he could be a writer, Bruce. He had a phenomenal way with words. He's passionate about using the right word. He liked writing, and I certainly took that from him as well, for sure.
Nice. Is there anything else that you want to add? Because we cover everything.
There's more people, right?
Like?
Who else do I admire? Well, Mathieu from Noisy.
Oh, yeah.
Mathieu Guémond. I really admire what he's doing because, he's a top-class sommelier and he just loves wine, loves looking after people, opened his own business. It's all about customer service. And, I think that's brilliant what he's doing there. So I definitely admire him. And Thomas Koch is one I think as well I would have to mention. For me, he's a guy that, I like the work he's doing there at Corinthia. And, he's at the top of his game, I would say.
Yeah. He did a very good job with the Corinthia. Great.
Okay.
That's it then.
Okay. All right.
We're
think
going to wrap up.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for listening to the first season of Drive for Service. David and I are feeling so honored, and we're so pleased to have done this, I guess. Even though the first episode was very nervous, and then we just got better, I think. No, but thank you, everyone. And yeah, David, anything you want to say?
No, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the whole series. And maybe we'll do a season 2. We'll see.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Drive for Service podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Medlar Chelsea, and make sure you like and subscribe for future episodes.